The creature paused, its glowing eyes locked on Obina. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The tension hung in the air like a blade, sharp and ready to fall. Then, in a movement so fast that Obina barely had time to react, the creature lunged at him, its jaws snapping inches from his face. But just as the beast was about to strike, the pendant in Obina's hand flared with a brilliant light, filling the clearing with a blinding radiance. The creature let out a deafening roar, its body writhing in pain as the light seared through the darkness. It thrashed and snarled, but the light grew stronger, enveloping both Obina and the flower in a protective glow. The creature's roars gradually faded into whimpers, and finally, it collapsed to the ground, defeated. The once fearsome guardian was now reduced to a shadow of its former self, its body shrinking back into the darkness from which it had emerged. Obina, still clutching the glowing pendant, stepped forward. The air was still, the forest silent once more. With careful hands, he reached out and gently plucked the midnight blossom from its stem. The flower's light dimmed slightly, as if acknowledging that its time in the forest had come to an end. As Obina turned to leave, the old woman's voice echoed softly in his mind. Bravery alone does not conquer fear. It is the wisdom to face it that leads to victory. He knew that he had been tested and had proven his worth, not just to the guardian, but to the forest itself. With the midnight blossom safely in his grasp, Obina made his way back through the forest, his heart light with the knowledge that he had overcome the greatest challenge of his life. As he emerged from the trees, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, bathing the village in golden light. The village erupted in celebration when Obina returned with the midnight blossom. The villagers couldn't believe their eyes. Obina, the humble farmer, had succeeded where so many others had failed. Amara's face lit up with a smile as she accepted the flower, and the preparations for the wedding began at once. The day of the wedding was the grandest the village had ever seen. Everyone came to celebrate the union of Amara and Obina, the couple whose love had triumphed over the darkness of the forest. There was music and dancing, feasting and laughter, and as the sun set, the village was bathed in the warm glow of lanterns. But as the night wore on, a strange tension began to settle over the celebration. The villagers, though merry, could not shake the feeling that something was amiss. The air seemed to grow heavier, and the shadows deeper. Whispers spread through the crowd. What was this uneasy feeling? Was it just the excitement of the day, or was there something more? As the night reached its peak, Amara and Obina were led to their new home, a beautifully decorated hut where they would spend their first night as husband and wife. The villagers gathered outside, eager to witness the final moments of the wedding celebration. But as the door to the hut closed behind the couple, a hush fell over the crowd. Inside the hut, Obina looked at his bride, his heart filled with love and anticipation. But as he reached out to take her hand, something strange happened. Amara's skin, so smooth and warm, started to change. It shimmered as if covered in scales, and her eyes, once warm and brown, turned a piercing yellow. Obina stepped back in shock, his heart pounding. "Amara, what is happening?" he whispered, fear creeping into his voice. But Amara did not answer. Instead, her body began to twist and elongate, her limbs turning into thick, muscular coils. Before Obina's eyes, his beautiful bride transformed into a massive serpent, her body shimmering in the hut's dim light. Obina's mind raced. What was this creature before him? Was it some kind of curse? Or had the woman he loved always been a serpent in disguise? The questions swirled in his mind, but there was no time to think. The serpent, now fully transformed, looked at him with those cold, yellow eyes, and for a moment, he felt as though he was staring into the very heart of the forest itself. Amara, now in her serpent form, slowly slithered closer to Obina, her movements slow and deliberate. There was no malice in her gaze, only a deep, ancient sadness. "Obina," she hissed, her voice still carrying the warmth of the woman he loved. "This is who I truly am. I was cursed long ago to live as a serpent, only able to take human form until I found true love. But on my wedding night, the curse forces me to reveal my true self." Obina stared at her, his heart torn between fear and love. "Why did you not tell me?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Why did you keep this from me?" "Because," Amara replied, "I feared you would not love me if you knew the truth. I feared that no one would." The weight of her words hung in the air, heavy with sorrow. Obina felt his fear begin to fade, replaced by a deep empathy for the woman he had come to love. She had lived her life in fear, hiding her true self from the world, and now she was before him, vulnerable and exposed. Obina took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that the decision he made now would change his life forever. Could he truly love Amara, even as she stood before him in this form? Or would he be like the others, driven away by fear and disbelief? The moment stretched on, the silence between them growing thicker with each passing second. The villagers outside were unaware of the drama unfolding within the hut, their laughter and chatter a distant hum. Obina took a step forward, his hand trembling as he reached out to touch Amara's scaly skin. It was cool and smooth like the surface of a polished stone. As his hand made contact, Amara flinched, as if expecting him to recoil in disgust. But Obina did not pull away. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes locked onto hers. "Amara," he whispered, "I do not care what form you take. My love for you is not bound by appearances. It is your heart that I love, and that will never change." A tear, bright and shimmering, rolled down Amara's serpent cheek. No one had ever spoken such words to her before. In that moment, the room was filled with a soft, glowing light, and the air around them seemed to hum with a gentle warmth. Obina's words, spoken from a place of true love and acceptance, broke the curse that had bound Amara for so long. The serpent form began to dissolve, and Amara transformed back into her human self, but this time she was different. Her beauty was even more radiant, her eyes now a deep, soulful brown that held the wisdom of ages. The curse was lifted, and Amara was finally free. The next morning, as the first light of dawn broke over the village, Obina and Amara emerged from the hut, hand in hand. The villagers, who had gathered outside, gasped in astonishment. They had expected to see the couple, but nothing could have prepared them for the sight before them. Amara was more beautiful than ever, her presence serene and otherworldly. Obina stood beside her, his face calm and resolute. The villagers, who had feared the worst, now saw that something miraculous had happened. Word spread quickly through the village, and soon everyone knew the truth about Amara's past and the curse that had been lifted by Obina's love. At first, there was fear. How could they accept a woman who had once been a serpent? But as they saw the love between Obina and Amara, their fear turned to admiration. The couple was welcomed back into the village with open arms, and their story became a legend that would be told for generations to come. Amara and Obina lived a long and happy life. Their love, a testament to the power of acceptance and the strength of the human heart.